Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex and this is Big Baby Reviews. Today is Tuesday and that is MARC SILVESTRI Day. That is why we are looking through the Wolverine Essentials, which we're going to be cracking open pretty soon. But before that, at Big Baby Reviews, we are on the road to 250 subscribers. Once we hit that milestone number, we're going to be putting out a special vid. You'll find out what that is, obviously, once I put it out. And we hit that number. So I've been looking at my analytics a little bit. Thank you so much to all the people who've subscribed up to this point. All 140, 150 of you at the last check. But basically you guys represent about 11% of the views of my content and videos. 89% of people are not subscribed who are watching my videos. So all of you out there who are watching this, if you're not subscribed, please, it would really help us out. Helps push the channel forward, helps us build some steam as well, encourages us to make some more content so that we can keep it coming your way. So please, if you haven't done so before, please subscribe. That's the last time I'm going to ask you today until the end of the video. So we're looking MARC SILVESTRI, Wolverine Essentials. I do not have the next issue in the run. Issue 37 is a floppy. That's why we'll be going through this guy. If you watch the other episodes, you know what it is. Basically a black and white collection of MARC SILVESTRI's run. Well, it starts with other guest artists, but most of MARC SILVESTRI's run on Wolverine is within this in black and white, which is fun because you can see the artwork kind of purely distilled with no color and pay more attention a little bit to the technique and details. That's kind of the idea here. And to fill that void because I don't have the actual issue. So again, issue 37, March, I'd have to guess at this point. I'm not quite sure for Wolverine. Maybe this is 1992, 91, 92. That's in around there. So again, still seeing a lot of that Mignola influence with the shadows and the silhouettes. I do get kind of a weird Andy Kubert vibe here. Maybe Andy Kubert, Joe Kubert, I don't know, gritty. At this point in time, MARC SILVESTRI is still drawn with a fairly gritty style, not what I would describe as a slick kind of image style. It's not quite there yet. He's still very much focused on storytelling. Even though he's blazing through these issues pretty quickly because he is, as all the other image guys said, probably the best artist, the best pure illustrator, and apparently he works very quickly as well. So Larry Hama script, we're going through the credits, MARC SILVESTRI pencils, Dan Green inks, Pat Brosseau lettering, and Glynis, sorry, but you're not coloring this issue because it's black and white. So we're continuing on the storyline where Wolverine has gone back in the past and is basically in Spain, Guernica, where Hitler back in the day in 1937, if I'm not mistaken, I might be off on there a little bit, actually had kind of what people have dubbed a practice run of the Blitzkrieg, the technique they used during World War II. It's almost as if Hitler, excuse me, Hitler practiced it at this city here. Picasso, I've talked about in past episodes, is kind of famous for having painted it as kind of, a political kind of revolt against what Hitler had done, right? And back then, not everyone kind of knew about it. It wasn't a mass media age quite yet. So, Picasso was trying to bring attention to the fact that had happened. Some people, I guess, back then were deniers, just like people deny things today. So again, we're getting a lot of the Mignola kind of Frazetta storytelling and layering of, foreground, midground, background. Looks great. SILVESTRI, just, in black and white, masterful stuff. Like, you don't need the color. The contrast is well done, easily readable. Just, yeah, and pretty black heavy, but, clarity is important, and you're getting all of that. So, of course, we've still got the kind of storyline, they're fighting Nazis, and we get the money shot here, which I think is cool. Kind of a reversal of the cover. If I go back real quick and show you guys that, right? So we kind of got Wolverine jumping at Lady Deathstrike, who seems surprised, and then we get kind of the opposite here, right? So I think that's pretty cool, whether or not that was conscious or subconscious. And again, just, looking at the layout of the page and just pulling back and looking at the black spaces and shapes and things, just very well done. So much clarity, great storytelling still. Not yet going the image route of the big splash page all the time, even though there is one, and, when you get it, it usually pays off. That's super awesome once again. But yeah, just respect to the level of storytelling and how he can get so much clarity using so much black, so much texture, so much hatching is just like, it amazes me. It's almost like a painterly way of drawing, I guess is how I describe it. All this stuff. Like, how do you draw a tornado? Like Marc Silvestri does here. Like, great job. Awesome. How do you imply, you know, some of that tornado, some of that gust of wind? Amazing. And this is like old school kind of illustrative style. He's putting down a lot of ink and hatching, and then sometimes almost none at all. Like in this panel here, just a bit of hatching, right? Like that's such an awesome bit as an artist, because he's running into, you know, the smoke here, right? So just a bit of him is starting to, you know, he hasn't drawn the smoke here, but you get the sense that there's a little bit there in front of him, right? Because of that little fading kind of effect there with the hatching. That's just, to me, that's just clever, and it's such a small detail. Now we're getting somewhere. We're starting to see this character is Donald Pierce. Is that his name? No, Pierce. So he's, you know, in silhouette. Once again, you're not quite sure. You get a close up here by the end of the page of some sort of child robot, you know, that he's building. This is more interesting to me right now than what's going on in the other storyline. This has kind of run its course here, and I'm not that interested in it, other than the Lady Deathstrike kind of fight with Wolverine, which is cool and action-packed. And this is a great page, another great silhouette shot here, almost full silhouette. Wolverine coming through the fog here, kind of like, you know, that same effect as I talked about a page before. Just this little detail of a bit of that smoke going in front of him there. That's genius. You know what I mean? Like, that's the kind of stuff that just adds so much, and you have to think of it, right? Most people would have the tendency of just drawing that arm, or like, if you think of this, oh, I'm not going to erase. Yeah, you do. If it's a better idea, you white it out or whatever you have to do, and you add that smoke going across, creating those different layers of depth, right? But again, this story here has got me intrigued. I will be honest, like, when I was a kid, I did not read these issues. I started reading Wolverine around, I think it's 41 or 42. I did a review of it months ago. But that's where I started. And this character, I know where that's leading, right? And that was kind of the mystery when I started reading those Wolverine comics. You know, when you first start out and you don't know all the comic tropes, there was you'll see later on this issue, the kind of clone character, right? The doppelganger, which I now know is in every form of storytelling, movies and stuff. It's a common thing. But back then, you know, getting into comics, you don't know what's going on. And it was just such an odd thing, this child robot and this Wolverine clone that we're going to see in a little bit. LCD and Albert, I think they were called. Pretty sure that's what it is. But here, I guess I'm getting to see the origins of how that started with Donald Pierce. And obviously, as I review on, I'll be understanding a little bit better how those events led to those first few Wolverine issues that I read, and where I was thoroughly confused pretty much through all of it, at least at first. Some great storytelling, again, just everywhere. Like this, the layering of his panels is just genius. The way he just hatches away to not create confusion here and not have to fill in the black and save time and split the planes, foreground, middle ground, background. I'm not talking about the aeroplanes, but the planes, you know, that create the depth in the image, right? Great explosions. Like I said, so we're starting to reach what I would call, for me anyways, peak Silvestri. We're getting close now. I feel like we're starting to lose the obvious kind of, you know, you still got a bit of Mignola, right? But it's becoming Silvestri. It's you know, you still see those little triangular legs. I always think of Mike Mignola, especially in silhouette, but it's pulling away from that, or he's making it his own. And even the Buscema is kind of, you know, it's all synthesizing and merging and creating what I think in my head of like that peak Silvestri for me, which again is, I guess, from here on or soon on in the Wolverine run and the beginning of Cyberforce, maybe that first miniseries. And after that, he just goes for a real kind of Jim Lee aesthetic that I think is pretty good as well. Like, I'm not going to shit on it. I think it's cool, but I just so much more preference for this stuff here because the storytelling is solid. The artwork's exciting, the shadows and stuff, the stark, you know, silhouettes. It's great. It's akin to Wolverine, almost has like a horror vibe to me during this run with Larry Hama and Marc Silvestri. A lot of body horror stuff, which is pretty typical of a lot of, I think, some of the better Wolverine stuff. So I haven't said much about Puck because there's not much to say about it. I mean, he's part of the story, but that's about it. Most of this issue focuses again on the Lady Deathstrike Wolverine fight. Some more great storytelling, blocking of black spaces, you know, good design, good contrast overall. And what it seems like is now Wolverine has woken up after this, you know, jump in the water back in Vancouver Harbor. I'd have to look if that's like a reference shot of Vancouver or just kind of made up Vancouver. I've been to Vancouver, just don't remember going in this area here. But, you know, effective as, you know, some kind of port city, right? I think this is maybe distinctively a Vancouver landmark, though I can't be sure. Cool Wolverine shot here. Still got a bit of the Buscema, but again, becoming Silvestri slowly but surely. And then, you know, he gets kind of a snapshot souvenir of their adventure back in the past, right? With, again, never explicitly mentioned that it is him. They call him the great writer and this and that, but Ernest Hemingway and Wolverine. So I like the history that Larry Hama's able to infuse in this story. So, not quite sure what's going on here. Lady Deathstrike wakes up. She's in the water. She thinks, you know, rightly so, this character who looks like Wolverine is Wolverine. But apparently he's not. She's about to attack him. And our friend here, Pierce, I guess, grabs her arm, holds her back. And then she finds out that that is not Wolverine. But that is this character that we'll come to know as Albert. Which, again, is kind of a robotic clone. Well, I mean, listen. She says, what is this? What are you building here? And he says, not a cyborg. A totally synthetic, moly steel laminate exoskeleton, no human luggage like conscience or sense of self. This is pure killer. So I guess it's kind of a Terminator kind of thing. That's what it feels like to me here the most, if I had to compare it to anything. And of course, that kind of, you know, just creepy shot in the water, almost like 80s horror, you know, poltergeist, young, creepy kid. That girl in Dune, you know, David Lynch, the original Dune movie. I just really like this panel here. And again, it's so effective, but so quickly drawn, you know, effective. The bubbles, you know, she's in the water, the hatching, everything just, you know, it almost, you could think it's messy, but it's so clear and obvious, you know, in all of his textures and all of his hatching. Just, you know, I respect the level of clarity he can get with all those scratchy lines and just different textures and stuff. It's never hard to understand what's going on. Just a super effective, experienced storyteller at this point. Again, pretty much I would say close to, if not within a few issues, at the point that I consider his peak artistically, at least for myself. So there you have it, Wolverine 37. Let me know your thoughts in the comments on this issue if you have it and if you've read it. We are again on the road to 250 subs, so special video will be put out once we hit those numbers. Help us out. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors about the channel. Reminding you that most of you, 89%, are watching the videos but are not subscribed. It would help us out greatly. If you did, we'd really appreciate it. And once again, if you enjoyed the content, hit that like on the videos. And one last plea, subscribe to the channel. Help us out. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope everyone out there has an awesome day.
Like! Subscribe! Like! Subscribe!
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13. 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.